What's up, guys? This is Genetic Minority here to bring you another Monday Night Review. I'm going to focus on being able to say that a lot faster, yet somehow still more audible. For the night of, this is a review for the night of February 22nd, 2016. Very interesting night of Monday Night Raw. But, as you expect, it is because it is the Raw, the first Raw before Mania. Of course, as I suspect, and excuse me, I have to take a sip of my liquid beverage, it will all go down from here. Because it's Monday Night Raw, and oh, I forgot, it's still Black History Month, so, you know, they have to honor black people, and suspend Titus O'Neil for putting his dirty black hands on Vincent Kennedy McMahon. But whatever. Excuse me. So, first and foremost, shout out to all my fans who stay stuck with me. I know that, especially recently, I've been on and off with reviews and things like that. Once again, work and things like that. I'm going to try to be, I say it every week, I'm going to try to become more consistent again, because I was very consistent for a long time. And that's it. I'm just going to try harder. Maybe even just doing stuff throughout the course of the week to prepare for the fact that I might not be around. Like, prepare something where it's like, I know I have to work on a Monday, prepare some kind of video if I know ahead of time. So I'll see what I can do, but for now, I am back tonight, so let's just talk about Raw. Raw opens up with them showing a video that was put up on the Facebook, but I don't follow or like the WWE's Facebook. I don't follow them on Twitter because I just don't. Brock Lesnar attacking Dean Ambrose and slamming him on, not through, even though they keep saying through, on the windshield of a limousine. First and foremost, which is, of course, obviously setting up for Brock versus Dean at Mania. Now, there are some positives and some negatives to this. Positives. 1, it's going to set up for the feud for Dean versus Brock. 2, it's setting up something interesting that will be a reason for Dean versus Brock. 3, it is the way they did it, which is having it a thing that happened before the show and was kind of just like leaked, so to speak, to the internet. Made it a little bit more real, which I like. I like that. And it works. It works towards the feel of saying this is really personal. Like, Brock just straight up attacks Dean for no reason when nobody will be really around to see it other than a handful of people to talk about it. So those 3 things are pros. Cons to this. 1, it still doesn't look like Dean has a chance to beat Brock at all, simply just out of sheer power and size and speed, because Brock Lesnar is extremely fast, or at least quick. It doesn't still seem like Dean can do anything to stop him other than just be crazy. 2, the problem with the way they did it, which is putting up on the Facebook page, is I think they should have just kind of had like a plant fan do it, being like, look what I just saw Brock Lesnar do. Like, they shouldn't have leaked it themselves. I like the feel of it and how it happened, but I think that they should have had someone else, like just a plant dude, leak it for them and let it just go viral on the internet, like it was not set up by them at all. Like, it was just like Brock Lesnar has a real problem. They should have kind of went more deep into it. Like, it does get personal, but not personal enough. They should have definitely went more into it, saying like, Brock really has a problem with Dean backstage. They should have just planted that story and then say they got into like a minor skirmish and then that was the result of it. And it would have felt a little bit more real, but it was a start and it's not the worst thing. But 3, and the most important thing about this entire freaking thing with Brock Lesnar and Dean Ambrose, where the fuck is Bray Wyatt? Bray Wyatt straight up assaulted Bork not too long ago, and Bork was all like, Paul Heyman said for Bork that Bork Lesnar wouldn't forget. So how come he forgot all of a sudden? I mean, I get that not a lot of people wanted to see, no one really wanted to see Bray attack Brock last night and cost him be the reason for him to lose, but they're just kind of straight up forgetting about Bray and Brock's interactions. And I get the sneaky suspicion that they're going to just straight up drop it completely because no one cares about Bray, including WWE, no matter how much they pretend they do. So, I don't know. I do not know what is going on with that. But it has some pros and cons. And, what are you going to do, right? But what follows next was the actual opener to the show, quote-unquote. Vince McMahon comes out to give out the I don't remember what his dad's name is. His daddy's Award of Excellence, whatever. It's the Ken Kennedy. Jesus Christ, that's freaking Mr. Kennedy. Um, the the as if I freaking know. I don't know. I don't know who what his dad's name is. I don't remember. The Ed McMahon. I don't know. That's what my great grandmother calls Vince McMahon all the time. The Ed McMahon Award of Excellence and life achievement good and goodness. So Vince is coming out to give out the Ed McMahon Award of Achievement, Life, Goodness, and Fun Times to, and of course he introduces, and a lot of people were saying, and I was in a kind of live Skype call with a couple other wrestling buffs talking about who was going to get it, and we were all saying Triple H, but lo and behold, it was Stephanie. And Stephanie comes out with like a giant binder with a speech that she has prepared in it, and she gets interrupted by good old Shane O'Mac. Money, 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 money. Money, money, money. Here comes the money. All that. Shane O'Mac comes out with his freaking vintage Jordans on. I mean, the man has no chill, clearly. And I'm not just saying that to try to use like a hip young cool kid word, but seriously, he has no chill at all. He's coming out doing the little dance that he does. He's coming out with freaking suit on, but then he's got these those are retro throwback Jordans. Like, they're always the pair they not advertise to you, they show you in like basketball games where it's like that's like they're like Jordan 1s. Like, I'm not joking. They're like first ever Jordans ever made. Excuse me, I have to take another sip of my liquid beverage. I am not sponsored by Arizona, but I will say that green tea is amazing. Anyway, Shane says, Shane comes out and he says to Steph, or he says that Stephanie says, we've been running the company while you've been gone, and, excuse me as I adjust my mic, we've been running the company, Jesus Christ, while you've been gone on your little vacation, failing, because, I mean, if anyone doesn't know, Shane went and invested in a lot of, like, companies, and he since not, I don't know what happened to his investments. They're saying, like, he failed at them. I think he actually sold a lot of, like, his stock in the companies that he bought into. He did a lot of, like, he was buying and selling a lot of companies, like, out in China and whatnot. I think at one point he was like owner of like a lot of like cable, like for anyone like like China's version of Dish Network or DirecTV or whatever you have in your home country. But he was owning the company that puts on Monday Night Raw basically, and at least the one in China, and so he says to Steph, you and Hunter have been running the company, but you've been running it into the ground, and this is where he breaks. And this I like this. He breaks a little bit of the kind of like the thing clearly they've been reading the comment section on the internet. That he's like, you've been running into the ground. You have most of your roster is injured. The stock is dropping. The ratings are dropping. So I like that. I like that he said those three things. Those were the three. Those were the three notches right there that he needed to hit. You got half the roster is injured. You got stocks dropping. You got ratings dropping, and you're saying you're running this billion-dollar company. So Shane completely shuts her down and tells her, basically, without really saying it, that he's kind of the reason why WWE is still around, because he did buy WCW at one point, or at least they said he did. I don't know if he actually did. Back in the day, that was the thing when we were kids. And, he took all the money he made investing and things like that, and at one point bailed Vince out many years ago, and then, or basically, I think what he was really implying, and this is not 100%, is that when he, quote-unquote, bought WCW, he saved Vince from his company from being completely destroyed. So that Vince eventually paid him off to, for doing him this solid, and this is something that he never told Steph or anyone else. And he says that, there's some truth to that, but he wants to keep it private backstage, blah, 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 blah. So basically, Shane is more or less running the company behind the scenes for years, or is the reason why the company could even be run in the first place. He says the company, he is a Shane himself is a fourth generation superstar, and that he's got 3 sons, and they're going to be the 5th generation. And that he wants to see the company there for the 5th, 6th, 7th generation, however long he lives, and so on and so forth, but that it's not going to happen, and that the company will be dead before that his kids even get a chance to take over, because of the way Vince, Steph, and Hunter have been running it. And he says he wants control of Monday Night Raw. Vince says if you get Raw, you basically have the whole company. Which, I mean, he's straight up saying SmackDown doesn't exist, so I'm not going to act like SmackDown exists. Like I told people before, SmackDown is a figment of your imagination. And, um, sorry, I just got a text from someone who said they're not looking forward to Mania this year. And I kind of am as it stands. It seems like a little bit of interesting stuff going on, but we'll see how that pans out. Obviously, WWE has a chance to fail, but nevertheless, Vince says, "Okay, fine. If you want Monday Night Raw, I basically the whole company." He offers him a deal. Shane has to have one match, and if Shane wins his match, that Vince is going to name his opponent when, where, and who. If Shane wins his match, he gets Raw. If Shane loses his match, he drops all the he stops using this whatever it is that he has, this kind of bill of lading, so to speak, this kind of receipt for services that he has over Vince, and can't use it or hold it over him anymore, and he leaves. He's gone forever. So before Shane gets a chance to walk away, Vince tells him he'll be facing The Undertaker at Mania in Hell in a Cell for ownership, basically ownership of WWE, or ownership of Raw, which would flat out kick Vince and Steph out of Raw. Which I find interesting that he picked. I honestly thought he was going to pick himself. But he didn't. He picked Undertaker, which is a weird choice to me. Because if he does actually want him facing Taker, then if Taker loses, that's another loss on his record, and that would annoy fans. If Taker wins, then the point of Shane coming would be moot, and that would annoy fans. So it's a lose-lose in terms of Vince doing this whole Shane's taking over now, don't worry, the show's going to get better kind of story arc. Or, I mean, he might be doing this whole, the show's not going to get better story arc. I don't know what he's doing with it yet. So I'm curious to see where it goes, how it goes. But if he doesn't wind up facing Taker, and this is and it's another thing that's weird about it too, is why would Taker do that? Taker has no reason to face Shane McMahon. The streak is over, and he doesn't like Vince. He's never established at all to ever be liking Vince, except for the time when he was part of the corporation many, many moons ago. But the current Taker doesn't seem like he would care about that kind of thing. And in fact, he would seem like he'd be on Shane's side. If anyone's ever heard the rumor, and I don't know if this is rumor or true, I hope it's true, is that for whatever reason that I can't remember right now, Undertaker doesn't like to promote WWE. So one of the things that he does is that when he holds the mic, he holds his hand over the WWE logo. He doesn't hold the bottom of the mic, he holds his hand over the logo. And rumor was it was because he doesn't want to promote WWE. So I have no idea. I'm confused. I'm not confused. Jesus Christ, I am confused. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't seem like a thing that'll happen. And once again, I get that he's putting out against Taker, a guy who's had the best performance in WrestleMania in history, but there isn't anyone else he can. I get that all the other he didn't put him up against freaking Sheamus and the rest of the League of Losers. Saying Shane's got to beat him 4 against 1, or 4 against 1. He put him up against Taker, and that's weird to me. Shane versus the League of Losers makes sense because they work directly under the McMahons. So if they lose, then one, that gives a reason for Barrett to leave because he wants to leave the company. So then they have him lose and they say he's fired and just give him his time away from the company, or give him time off and then let his contract run out. And then reevaluate what they want to do with everyone else, such as Rusev and Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio. Doing it with Taker just is, it doesn't make any sense to me. So we'll see how that happens, or we'll see how that turns out. Next, we get Neville and the Lucha Dragons versus the New Day. What the hell is WWE doing with the New Day? I get that they're pushing. I guess they're trying to push this League of Losers versus New Day for Mania. But once again, this goes back to why, because last night at the pay per view is something I talked about with Chase Oliver and a couple other people who do his Q&A, and I believe they also have channels, but I'm not 100%. Don't quote me on that. I know Chase Oliver doesn't. He can tell you if they do. Um, the League of Losers last night were, or during the Edge and Christian cutting peep show, New Day came out, and New Day are clearly heels. Edge and Christian kind of build this thing where they're saying League of Losers have been talking bad about you guys behind their back, therefore making the League of Loser faces. The League of Losers come out, they address New Day, and New Day just kind of walks away like the heels. Then League of Losers start to address Edge and Christian, who have just now, the League of Losers were basically just established as faces going up against the heel New Day. But, and mind you, this is all last night, but then they start mouthing off to Edge and Christian, kind of making themselves heels, and Edge and Christian walk out of the ring. And then they make fun of the League of Losers and then proceed to dance while Edge throws money on the New Day as they twerk, making fun of and start making fun of the League of Losers. So that would make the New Day faces and the League of Losers heels, which is a double turn. Exactly. If you said what, then you've hit the nail on the head, because I'm also confused. But then tonight they go up against the New Day, or they go up against Lucha Dragons and Neville, and they're bad mouthing the League of Losers while simultaneously doing heel things in this match. Now, mind you, the League of Losers are still heels by the end of the show tonight. Sheamus has a match with Roman Reigns. So basically, we have two heel factions facing off against each other. Why? I know that a while back Vince said he wanted to move away from heels and faces, but here's the thing, that can't work. Or at least the way he's doing it, it can't work, because I'm confused as to what is what. I know he's, like he said, he wants to move away from that, but stories need a good guy and a bad guy. All stories do. Almost all stories do. There may be some that I can't think of off the top of the head that don't necessarily have a good guy and a bad guy, but there's no such thing. I mean, you have even if you have someone that's not, you need a bad guy in every story to drive the plot forward, unless it's like, you need some kind of struggle and strife, and usually that's personified in a bad guy. I mean, if anyone's seen the Deadpool movie recently, Deadpool is not a hero, he's an anti-hero. He's not good, he's not bad, he just does whatever he wants to do. But there's still a bad guy in the movie, and there are still good guys in the movie, so you have a clear side of good and evil. And even when you have an anti-hero like Deadpool, like Wolverine, like the Gambit in some of the X-Men, like when you have these guys who aren't necessarily bad guys, they're not necessarily good guys, there's always still a bad guy, and there usually is some form of a good guy to balance things out, because you have the good guys, bad guys, and then your anti-hero in the middle, who's the pivot point, and the things kind of balance around him. And he has the option to choose whether or not he wants to be good or bad, or just continue to do what he's always been doing. So that's my thing, is like WWE, Vince wants to move from having good guys and bad guys, make everyone an anti-hero, or make everything neutral, but how can you build a story around that? Every story has, like, Aesop's, even you go back to like the earliest things, like Aesop's fables, when they have a fable about some kind of anthropomorphized animal, some kind of animal that's been given like human like traits, like the ability to talk and things like that. There's always like a good guy animal and a bad guy animal, and there's some lesson to be learned, or a good guy and a bad guy. Like even on old stories, like, it's always been like that. So the fact that Vince wants to move away from that is weird, because there's no way to tell a story without a good guy and bad guy. I can't think of anything like that, but I'm yammering on. But anyway, so I don't know what's up with the New Day and the Legion of Losers, the League of Losers. But apparently they're both heels. Yeah. But nevertheless, Kofi wins by yanking Sin Cara's mask, and then, or basically trying to yank it off his face, lift it up, and then hitting him with a Trouble in Paradise. Which I just realized the initials of that are tip. So Kofi Kingston goes around hitting people with the tip. That's penis innuendo. But anyway, so Kofi, the New Day win. And If I could ever freaking do my freaking phone. Um, Next, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman come out. Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar are apparently mad because Brock Lesnar is the main event. No matter who is the main event of the show, Brock Lesnar is the main event no matter where he's featured on the card, even if he's not in the last match of the night. And that he wants, Brock and Paul want a new opponent for Brock at Mania. And Paul Heyman's, he's cutting one of his violent promos. But eventually Dean Ambrose returns after being assaulted by Brock earlier in the day technically, but we've shown it earlier in the show. He's driving. He apparently supposedly has stolen the ambulance. He steals the ambulance, drives it back, limps his way down to the ring, and Brock just kind of brushes him off as nothing. But I don't know how, I don't know why. Dean got a mic and says he wants to fight Brock at Mania in a street fight. Brock responds by going down to down ringside, F5ing Dean onto the mat, and Paul Heyman proceeds to accept and throw the mic at Dean's chest, which I find hilarious. But yes, it will be, as I said earlier, it'll be Brock versus Dean at WrestleMania, and the only thing that the match being a street fight changes it to is it makes it seem more likely that Dean could win simply because he's allowed to just hit Brock with weapons. I suspect a lot of overblown chair shots from Brock to Dean, and Dean not going down. Eventually Dean probably picks up the stairs and bashes Brock over the head 8 times with it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So yeah, that's the thing. So now we've got 3 matches set for Mania: Shane versus Taker, Brock versus Dean, and Triple H versus Roman. So it should be interesting. Next, we get the Usos versus the Ascension. Yes, they still bore me and they still put me to sleep, but the Usos win in 2 minutes. Not even a minute. But before the match started, the Dudleyz up at the top of the ramp were basically saying their career is not defined by putting people through tables. It's defined by them being the greatest tag team of all time. And they're heels. So, that's cool, I suppose. And, jeez, words are hard. But they say all this at the top of the ramp, and then they kind of just wait up at the top of the ramp. And the Usos get the easy win on the Ascension, and then the Dudleys just kind of have a stare down with them, which is fine. And so that's the end of that. Next, we get Chris Jericho, who wants to tell AJ Styles that he is actually phenomenal and that he regrets saying, that he did. He says that I didn't like you, I didn't respect you, but you truly are phenomenal. So, I got nothing but the utmost respect for you now. And they are met by the Social Outcast, aka Job Squad Part 2. And we get Y2AJ versus the Social Outcast. And Y2AJ wins. That's all that matters. Backstage, Roman is told he has a match against Sheamus. Earlier in the show, he was talking about going to the hospital to go find out what was up with Dean. Or not talking about going to the hospital, but on the phone, trying to find out what was going on with Dean and that they were just running tests. But apparently we're for now dropping his friendship with Dean. He didn't come out and attack Brock at all or anything. He didn't even come and punch him in the face or anything to come help Dean. So, Dean is the only one who comes to save him, not the other way around, Next, we get Big Show, Kane, and Dick Ryback. I'm calling him Dick Ryback for a reason. Versus the Wyatts, with Bray replacing Braun this time. It's still 3-on-3, but this time Braun is on the outside, and Bray is actually in the match. But the Wyatts win. They get the pin on. I can't remember right now, but I believe it's Dick Ryback. Oh no, he doesn't pin Dick Ryback. I think they pin Kane, and Dick Ryback doesn't want to shake hands and stand tall alongside Big Show and Kane. Backstage, they talk to Dick Ryback, and he says he's not teaming up with anyone anymore. He needs to stand on his own 2 feet, and it's time for him to finally break that glass ceiling. I agree. I don't necessarily think this is a heel turn for Ryback. I think this is the anti-hero thing I was talking about, just Ryback coming out and, as I take the last sip of my liquid beverage, sorry to the people who hate that noise. Just Ryback riding solo, basically. So I hope this means more for Ryback's character. Um, next, jeez. Next, we get Sasha versus Naomi. Sasha wins with the help of Becky Lynch, who stops Tamina from, acting like a douche on the outside. So that's cool. And Charlotte comes out to inform them that it will be Sasha versus Becky at some point in the future. Uh, to decide who the winner will face Charlotte at Mania for the Divas Championship. I don't care about Charlotte at all. And she's still coming out doing the Daniel Bryan chants for the sake of comedy, and haha and giggles, and then she's making fun of Brie Bella, and who cares? Then, of course, we get our main event, which is Randy Orton. Jesus Christ. Roman Reigns versus Sheamus. The match doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because there really is no ending to it. Freaking Roman and Sheamus have the match, and eventually the League of Losers get kicked from ringside, and the shenanigans, and blah blah blah. But eventually Roman spears Sheamus and knocks him outside the ring, and he rolls back in the ring before the 10 count. But the 10 count never gets made. Triple H's music hits, and Triple H comes down to the ring, and him and Roman start to brawl. Him and Roman start to brawl. Eventually, Triple H gets the upper hand by nailing Roman in the neck with the ring bell and bashing his face into the table, which busts his nose open. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, because we all know how much of puss cake Vince is about blood. But for the benefit of the storyline, let's just say it was on purpose. And, jeez. He busts his face open and whatnot, and proceeds to beat him up and bash his face in with his fist, get blood all over his hands, and then pedigree him into the steel steps. Therefore, now making this match quote unquote personal between the two, because But I doubt that there's gonna be any kind of bloodshed like this at Mania. But it does. It's a nice little thing to add into the build up. I'm not mad about it, at least. Could have been worse. But not much to say about this Raw. Way better than the freaking pay-per-view we got last night. One of the better Raws of recent memory. Really glad that we got Shane McMahon returning. Really curious to see how Mania's build goes up, or the build going towards Mania is, because I know there's going to be matches on the card that no one cares about, such as whatever this League of Losers stuff and New Day business is. But whatever, they're probably going to try to team up AJ Styles and Chris Jericho instead of having them face off against each other. So there are going to be a couple matches that probably won't matter. But I'm curious to see where this is going. So join me next week for my next review of what will probably be an inferior Raw, by comparison at least. And catch you on the next one. Peace.